What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content you watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the May 24th, 2021 edition of Raw Talk, as always being hosted by Kevin Patrick and R-Truth. I will say this before we get started with the Raw Talk stuff. I thought last night was actually a pretty good episode of Raw, at least by recent Raw standards. If you put it up against an average episode of SmackDown or definitely Dynamite or NXT, it's probably not as good, obviously. But by recent Raw standards, which I realize is not saying a lot at all, I gotta give credit where it's due, I thought it was a pretty good show. I enjoyed the fact it was wrestling heavy, they furthered some storylines. Overall, the time flew by. Granted, I did watch it after the fact, so not having to sit through commercials probably helped with that. But I thought overall it was an enjoyable episode, again, by recent Raw standards. I got to emphasize that. And I thought this was a good episode of Raw Talk overall as well. So Kevin apologizes to R-Truth right off the bat for costing him, in R-Truth's opinion, costing him the 24/7 championship last week on the show. Unless I missed something, I don't think there was any follow-up with that on Raw this week, which I'm not complaining because the 24/7 championship is completely pointless. I would rather they just throw it away and we never see it again. But he apologizes to Truth, who accepts his apology this week, thank God. Kevin recaps the rest of Raw, including the main event that saw Natalya and Tamina retain their tag team titles against Shayna Baszler and Nia, talking about the Reginald crap and the fire coming up and everything else. So they talk about that. They talk about Riddle knocking off Xavier Woods. Did they talk about Asuka and Charlotte Flair? I don't think so, because they get Charlotte on the show momentarily. But they pretty much just recap the rest of Raw. And R-Truth calls Reginald a nuisance, which he absolutely is. Just get him off my TV screen. So the first guest they welcome on is Charlotte Flair, who, after Kevin says, "Oh, congrats on your big win," she takes offense to the fact that he says that it was a big win. She doesn't feel like it was a big win because she won the match. She's beaten Asuka before, really nothing new for her. Yeah, she lost to Asuka last week, but for her, it's another day at the office for Charlotte Flair, essentially. She believes that Rhea Ripley respects her, but she won't admit it because she's young and she's inexperienced, she's naive, blah, blah, blah. She brings up her WrestleMania 36 win over Rhea Ripley, where she made her tap out to win the NXT Women's Championship, and she's going to do that again, in her opinion, come hell in the cell to regain the Raw Women's Championship. She will praise about Rhea Ripley. The one good thing she does say about Rhea is that she has improved her presence since the last time they faced off about a year ago. And, she's just got to learn to not worry about anyone else. She worries about Nikki Cross and Asuka and Charlotte. Rhea Ripley's got to stay in her lane, according to Charlotte Flair. And Charlotte's only competition is herself when she looks in the mirror. She also says that right now is the best that she's ever been. The second guest they welcome on is Ricochet, who's coming off an attack over Sheamus on Raw, following a fun yet short-lived Sheamus and Humberto Carrillo match. So Ricochet said that he was out there because he's not going to let Sheamus bully Humberto Carrillo and attack him for no reason. You already won, dude. Why are you attacking him? And he says there's no alliance there between himself and Carrillo, but, they've been homies for a long time, he said. That's his word. They've been, friends for a while, so why not stand up for Carrillo when he's being ambushed for absolutely no reason? He says that he likes being in the ring with Sheamus, and he just wants to get into his head. He emphasizes that quite a bit. They go off on a tangent, he and Ricochet and R-Truth do, about shrimp on the Barbie and Australian, lingo for some reason. I have no idea why. But he does end it with saying that he believes he is in line. He does deserve another United States Championship opportunity. Why? I have no fucking clue. Dude, you lost twice. Sheamus has done nothing but win. Why would you deserve another opportunity? If you want to get into his head, fine, but he sounds more like a heel than a face. And maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe they will turn Ricochet. I have no idea. He's been acting a little weird lately, but it's probably just because he's at his wit's end and he needs to just change things up, otherwise he's going to remain irrelevant. So it's cool to see him on Raw, but he's still losing a lot, so I'm not really sure what's being accomplished here. And this was not his best promo. He was kind of falling over, or rather stumbling over his words, as I do a lot here, obviously. But yeah, he was just kind of fumbling over his words and wasn't really overly coherent, so it wasn't exactly his best mic work. The last person they have on is Riddle, who shows off his new t-shirt and his new flip-flops, which I guess they're selling now in WWE Shop if you want to buy it on WWE Shop. He also shows off his feet for some odd reason. He said he got a pedicure. But we don't really need to see his feet on the desk here and getting a zoom in and getting a close-up on it, but we got it anyway. So the foot fetish people, I'm sure, will have a field day with that one. But on the more serious stuff, he praises Xavier Woods, who had a really fun match with on Raw this week. Praised his, toughness and just everything about Xavier Woods and how he had him up for a gorilla press slam, and it was a very fun match before Woods fell victim to the RKO. And Riddle said, according to him, and this may not be accurate, but he said that Orton impressed him, or rather, he impressed Randy Orton with his own version of the RKO, and Orton texted him afterwards saying, oh, that was pretty impressive, or I was impressed, or whatever. Whether that happened or not actually remains to be seen. Orton, I think Riddle puts a lot of lies out there and in character in terms of what Orton says and what he doesn't. But if you told him a couple of years ago that he would ever win on WWE TV with an RKO, he would never believe you. He says it's a new weapon in his arsenal. RKO, or RK Bro rather, is for life. He does it the NWO way, and he says they're not using it anymore, so I guess I can use it. And he also reveals he did not ask for permission. And Orton gets on a lot of people for doing things that they probably shouldn't be, specifically in NXT, and Riddle acknowledges that, which is funny. But he didn't ask for permission. He just would rather get forgiveness later, I guess, if it didn't go well, if it didn't win him the match on Raw. So that was funny. And he also calls out AJ and Omos to close out the show here. Riddle is typically a goof on Raw itself. I wholeheartedly believe that. I know I'm not the only one. But honestly, I thought he was hilarious here. I don't know what it was, and I don't know if it was just the unscripted stuff or whatever the fuck, but he was absolutely hysterical on this episode. If you don't like Riddle, that's fine. You probably hated him here. And he still came across like a goof, but just like in a funny way. On Raw, he just comes across like just like an absolute dumbass. But here on Raw Talk, at least on this episode, he was very entertaining, and that was the best part of the entire episode. So it was a solid show overall. I love the Riddle and R-Truth stuff. Their chemistry is hilarious. R-Truth is a little too comedic sometimes when he probably shouldn't be, but I thought he and Riddle had great chemistry. And then, the Charlotte stuff was fine. Ricochet was a little shaky there with some of the stuff that he said, but overall it was a solid episode to kind of further some stuff along as we head into Hell in a Cell in a few weeks. Thanks to you guys for checking out the show here today. I appreciate it. My thoughts on the May 24th, 2021 edition of Raw Talk. Check out more Raw Talk reviews down below here in the video in the description box. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. And hit the bell button to be notified every time a new video goes up. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.